Longsword is one of the most popular weapons in Monster Hunter. In Wilds, it's probably going to be even more popular since the playstyle is just very, very straightforward. Now, in this guide, we're going to cover the basics so you can animate your way to victory. So first and foremost, one thing you need to pay attention to is the spirit gauge. This is about as deep as it goes with Longsword, to be honest with you. As far as resource management goes, that is. Timings and everything else a little bit harder, but as far as resource management goes, this is your spirit gauge. Now, this gauge, the whole point of Longsword is to build this gauge up and then upgrade it. There's 3 levels to this gauge. There's white, there's yellow, which is what we're currently at, and then there's red. The typical way to upgrade it is to get your gauge roughly to about 75 to 100% and then spam R2 abilities and make sure that you land the last spinning slash. There's a handful of different ways to do this, though, in Wilds, and some are better than others. So we're going to go through that currently. Now, what I just said, we're going to go through that. We'll just do regular attacks, and you can see the gauge is being built. So once the gauge is roughly 75 to 100% built, this is when you can start spamming your abilities. Now, as you can see, we're currently in white upgrade area right now. So we're going to move into yellow by spamming R2 abilities. If we do R2, 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 and the last one, if that last swing hits, you actually go up a level. Now, it uses up the gauge as you're doing this, but if that last hit lands, it upgrades it from white to yellow. Now let's get it upgraded to red. We'll do the same thing. Build up your gauge a little bit with basic attacks, and then start spamming all these abilities with R2, and just make sure that the last one hits. Now you're in what we are going to be calling throughout the rest of this guide red mode. So having a red mode going this is the bread and butter. This is what you aim to do with Longsword currently. Now, as I was saying, if this Chatacabra would leave me alone, I ain't trying to fight right now. But as I was saying, there's multiple different ways to get your red gauge going. One is just by doing basic abilities. One is doing I slash. I believe it's called I slash. I don't really know it. IAI spirit slash. So after any attack, if you hit R2 and X, you will sheath your weapon. And if you hit R2, after you sheath your weapon, you will see there's I spirit slash and there's I slash. So maybe it's called I don't know. But regardless, if you land the R2, which is basically a counterattack, it's kind of hard to land, to be honest, or at least it is for me because I don't really play Longsword that much. But if you land that will actually build your gauge up a little bit. And by landing it, I mean actually getting the iframe and everything on the attack that's coming your way. Now, another way to build it is by doing Spirit Round Slash, which is what I just did right there. I think this is personally like the easiest for me. But whenever you hold R2, you're going to start doing this number. And when you fully get that charged up, if you hit an enemy with this attack, that will fully upgrade your gauge by 1 level. That, to me personally, is the easiest way to do that. But, you know, other people are really good at Foresight Slash. Other people are really good at Spirit Slash, etc. Foresight Slash is very cool, but it's very risky at the same time. So if you hit R2 and circle, ooh, you actually get a little special animation in red mode with that. But typically speaking, whenever you hit R2 and circle, you're going to go into a counterattack mode. And if you land that, again, you get a full gauge. Now in red mode, obviously what you just seen right there was a little bit different. It's like a dodge counterattack, I'm guessing. But there is Foresight Slash. Not the hardest thing to land, but if you miss, it's going to use up all of your gauge, and you need a little bit of gauge just to use that. So basically, if you're in the middle of combos and a monster is about to attack you, you hit Foresight Slash, counterattack it, and get your gauge up that way. Eventually, I'll land this. I'm not really good with Longsword yet. Like I said, that one's probably the easiest one to go for. Now let's go over what you're going to be doing when you are in red mode or red gauge mode. Most of your hits, at least currently in the beta, are going to be coming from red gauge attacks. Red gauge is the main goal for Longsword. Red gauge is going to allow you to land Helm Breaker, which is done via doing any attack into R2 plus triangle for a spirit thrust. Now, once you land spirit thrust on an enemy, it'll hop you up into the air. And while you're in the air, just before you land, you're going to hit triangle or R2 to land a helm splitter. We'll showcase that right here. Well, I say we'll showcase that. So spirit thrust. Let me actually land it. That's the spirit thrust. You're up in the air. You land. You do that. Then you follow that up with an R2 to do that boatload of damage you just seen right there. So again, we'll go through this one more time for everyone. This is your bread and butter combo that a lot of newer players are going to be using, and it's going to be effective all throughout playing. You're just going to be looking for openings to land Helm Splitter over and over again. Now, remind you, you need to be in red gauge mode for this to happen. Right now, we're currently in white. So we're going to have to upgrade this twice, which we'll do easily enough. Let's get over here and get this done real quick. Now, also, if you're using the Helm Breaker combo, you're going to more than likely open wounds on your target. This is another way to raise your gauge. As you can see that red spot right there, hold L2, hit R1. And as you can see, boom, we're going to raise our gauge up quite a bit. Depending on how many you hit, that's going to raise your gauge level. So now that we're back in the red, we're going to go to this combo again. Now, I missed my Helm Splitter, actually, I think, but we got the R2 off right there. I'm still pretty bad at it. Don't at me here. There we go. Broke that. Now let's charge our combo with the R2 holding ability, or well, R2 spam ability. Now that we're up, you should never do the wound break whenever you're already at red. It just makes no sense. You're being redundant at that point, like I just did. So again, we're gonna land this up in the air, Helm Splitter, and then R2 to follow it up for a load of damage. Very easy to do. Takes a little bit of setup and can be dangerous at points, but this is your bread and butter combo that you're going to be wanting to land as much as possible. Now, you're not going to be able to Helm Break 100% of the time. So other combos are nice to use as well. Like when you're in red mode, just doing basic attacks is pretty good damage. And also, don't forget your Spirit Round slash combo, or Spirit or Foresight slash IE slash Spirit slash, etc. All of these do good damage, or R2 spam everything. So don't just Helm Splitter spam if you can help it. But if an opening's there, take it for sure. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this basics guide for Longsword. There's not a whole lot to Longsword, honestly, outside of timings and getting good at that, which does take some skill. So practice, practice, practice. There's definitely a skill ceiling there to reach. So like I said, keep up with it. I hope this video gives you a little bit of insight to Longsword and gets you started. Every week until release, I'm going to be releasing a basics guide for a different weapon. All 14 until the game releases on February 28th. If you'd like more, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be posting Monster Hunter content, short form and long form, on the channel for a while to come. Thank you for watching. Good luck on your hunts.